Hello, this is lesson 3.4, dividing rational numbers. So what I need you to do is divide your paper into 4 sections, and then when you're ready to continue, you can press play. Please pause the video now. Okay, on the upper left side here, I want you to copy what you see on your screen onto the upper left side of your notes and pause the video, and when you're ready to continue, press play. Please pause now. So the first thing that we see here is the inverse property of multiplication, and this property says that the product of a number and its multiplicative inverse, this is a fancy word, we also call it the reciprocal, is 1. Okay, so for instance, if I have this fraction 2/3 and then I use the reciprocal or multiplicative inverse, which is 3/2, and I multiply them together, I'm always going to get 1. Any number and its multiplicative inverse will give you 1 when multiplied together. Now, the other thing I need you to know is the steps for dividing. And here are the steps for dividing. The first thing is you change any whole number or any whole or mixed number to improper, and then keep, change, flip, and then multiply. Okay, we're going to use those steps in some of the problems on today's notes. Okay, so for the top right side of your notes, I want you to copy what you see on your screen, okay, and leave some space in between the 2 rows, and then pause the video, and when you're ready to continue, press play. Please pause now. So for problems 1 and 2, we're going to find the multiplicative inverse, or the reciprocal. Okay, so for -7/9, what you do is you just flip the fraction. So here we're going to go ahead and draw an arrow because they're not equal to each other. I'm going to draw an arrow so that this changes to -9/7. Okay? And the negative, I actually always just bring the negative to the top, to the numerator. And then you just box your answer. Now, if you were to leave the negative on the bottom, that would be okay, or in the front, that would be fine too. Now let's look at problem 2. Okay, we're going to flip the fraction or find the multiplicative inverse. However, this is not a fraction yet. This is a mixed number. So we have to first make it a fraction by making it an improper fraction. We multiply those to add the numerator. So we do 2 times 12 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So we're going to write 25 over, and then we use the same denominator, 12. Now we can flip it. So I'm going to draw a little arrow going this way. The multiplicative inverse is flipping this fraction here, so it's going to be 12 over 25. And you box your answer. Okay. Now let's take a look at numbers 3 and 4. Now we're going to divide, and the steps for dividing, like we already wrote down, is you have to change any whole number or mixed number to improper, which we don't have here, and then the second step is keep, change, flip. So for that, I want you to use your red pen, and you're going to write K here, C here, and then F here. Keep, change, flip. So that means we're going to keep the first fraction, 5/8. We change the division to multiplication. And then the F is flip. We're going to flip that. We're going to find the multiplicative inverse. So it's going to be 4/3. But again, I give the negative to the numerator. I like to give it to the numerator so I can always keep track of my negatives. If they all stay on the top, I know where they're at. Okay, now when you're multiplying, you can always cross cancel. Once you flip, look to see if you can cross cancel, and I can right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to divide them both by 4, and that's going to give me a -1 here and then a 2 here. And then we just multiply across. So 5 times -1 is going to be -5. Okay, and then 2 times 3 will be 6. And then we box our answer. Okay. Now let's take a look at number 4. On number 4, we have -6/7 divided by 12. So remember, the first step is to change any whole number or mixed number to improper. So that's what I want to do here. I want to make this an improper fraction. So I'm going to put that over 1. Then with your red pen, I want you to write KCF. Okay? Keep, change, flip. So we keep the first fraction, and again, I'm going to put the negative with the numerator, negative 6/7. We change this division to multiplication, okay? And then we flip the second fraction, 1/12. All right, now we multiply, so we use our rules for multiplying. So I can cross cancel here, divide them both by 6, and that's going to be here -1, and at the bottom here that'll be 2, and then you just multiply across. -1 times 1 is -1, and 7 times 2 is 14. And you box your answer. Okay, so now we're on the bottom left side of your notes. So on the bottom left, I want you to copy these problems out. Make sure you leave at least 4 lines, 5 lines if you can fit it on this part. And then pause the video and then press play when you're ready to continue. Please pause now. So for number 5, notice that we have 2 mixed numbers. So we have to make both of them improper first. So -6 4/5 is going to be -34/5. So let's write that down. Again, I put the negative with the numerator, -34. And then the second fraction, -2 2/5 is going to be -12/5. Okay? Now from here, in red, I'm going to squeeze in keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the first fraction, -34/5, change to multiplication, and then flip the second fraction. And I'm going to bring the negative to the top. All right, now we can cross cancel. We can cross cancel here with the 5 and the -5. So then divide them both by 5, and that'll be -1 and 1 here. And then we can also cross cancel with the -34 and 12. Divide both of those by 2, and you'll get 6 here. And then on this one, we're going to get -17. And then we multiply across. So we multiply across. -17 times -1 is +17, and then 1 times 6 is 6. Now, I'm okay with you leaving these improper because it's simplified. Unless it's a word problem, I would say you have to make it a mixed number. But because it's not a word problem, you can leave this improper because there are no common factors. I can't reduce this any further. Okay, so now let's take a look at the next problem where we have these fractions, but now they have variables inside the fraction. And we're going to treat those variables just like we would numbers. Notice that both of these are not mixed numbers. You never have a mixed number with a variable in it. They'll always just be regular fractions. So we go on to the next step, which is to do keep, change, flips. We're going to write KCF. So here, we're going to keep a b/4. We're going to change the the division to multiplication, and then we flip the second fraction. Okay, so now our next step is to see if we can cross cancel, and we can cross cancel here, divide them both by 4. That'll give you 1 here and then 2 here. And then the other thing you can do is to cross cancel variables if they're the same variable. So here this A represents the same number as this A, so we can cross those out, okay? And now we can also cross out the B's, because that number B represents this number B. Now, because we don't have anything here, they're both crossed out, we can put a 1 there. On this part, this expression, we still have that C. So then you multiply across. You have 1 times 2, that's 2, and then 1 times C, that's C. And then this is your simplified fraction. Now, you don't want to make them mixed numbers if there's variables inside. So let's say that this was your, I see this a lot. Let's say that you have a a fraction that looks like this, 3/2a. A lot of times kids will want to make that 3/2 1.5. Okay, like 1.5, and then they put the a somewhere in there. And we don't do that. Okay, so we never do that. If this were our final answer, we would leave it like that. Okay, so never change those algebraic fractions into mixed numbers. And that's all for your notes. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.